Live from the Consular Studios in Nassau, Bahamas, this is Bahamas at Sunrise. And now your hosts, Romuald Ferreira and Anastasia Palacios.
Good morning, Bahamas. Welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise on this Majority Rule Day. I'm Romy Ferreira.
And I'm Anastasia Palacios, and it is so wonderful to be back in your living rooms, in your bedrooms this morning, coming live from the Counselors Limited, and we want to wish a special good morning to Miss Takia Ramming over there at ZNS, who is always tuned into us, always talking about the show. She absolutely adores Romy, and so we want to wish her a very happy Majority Rule Day.
Well, let me tell you something. In 2016, nothing is going to change. Good things will continue to happen if you watch Bahamas at Sunrise. We're so happy you made us a part of your morning. Happy Majority Rule Day. What could be more significant than coming back live on Majority Rule Day?
And I think that we have done that for just the right reasons. Of course, this is the day when we reflect on where we took the country from some 49 years ago, and we question ourselves as to whether or not we have done enough with what we claim to be the majority in power.
Well, we're certainly going to find out, and those are the questions that we're going to explore as we attempt to demystify history. We'll talk about how far we've come from and how much further we have to go, so you want to stay tuned.
Certainly one of the major things coming up as we talk about majority rule is the need for the majority to have national health insurance. Well, at least that's what the government says. We're going to be asking Dr. DeLon Brennan the tough questions again as a follow-up to our national health insurance conversation last November. So you want to stay tuned to find out what else he has to say, sticking it to him this morning.
All of that and much more coming up on Bahamas at Sunrise. But the only way you're going to experience the benefit and get the good things that are in store for you in 2016 is if you watch this show and all the rest, and particularly this segment, because we have next up Godfrey Burnside with weather. I'm getting that curious look.
I don't know what the curious look is, but I do know that I hope that Godfrey has some good stuff in store for us. He gave us a beautiful Christmas, but we're hoping for a little cool January. So here he is now with weather.
Let it snow, Godfrey.
Weather at Sunrise, brought to you by Bahamas First. First in insurance, today, tomorrow.
Thank you, Romy, and good morning, Bahamas. And your first look at weather sunrise. Your surface dry, so we have a cold front across South Abaco, the Berry Islands, North Andros this morning, and that's moving towards South Asia, move to capital in another couple of hours, and stall in the Exuma Keys by late this afternoon. That will oscillate a quasi-stationary front over the next couple of days, causing some cloudiness across the islands with some showers, mainly across the northwest and central islands. And those temperatures will start dipping starting tonight. In satellite view, you can actually see some cloudiness over the northwest and central Bahamas as a result of that frontal boundary. So today, we're looking at variable cloudiness with a few showers. Your high temperature reaching 78 degrees Fahrenheit. Tonight, we're looking at partly cloudy and cool with a few showers, temperature going down to 69 degrees Fahrenheit. And some regional highs and lows across the Caribbean, Barbados 79 and 76. In Jamaica, 85 and 63. Trinidad, 86 and 73. And the Turks and Caicos Islands, 78 and 77. Across North America, Atlanta 43 and 29, in Raleigh 43 and 31, in Miami 69 62, Dallas, Texas 48 and 29, and Toronto, Canada 26 and 21. And if I the weather look, cool down coming this week. We're looking at some cloudy skies through Wednesday and then some partial clearing, but for the weekend, look like it's going to be a whole lot of rain with a lot of showers as that frontal boundary will low form in the Gulf of Mexico moves across the island sometime late Friday into Saturday, and that'll be around us for a couple of days. So temperature daytime will be in the mid to upper 70s, at nighttime in the lower 60s. That puts her up. When you first look at weather sunrise, I'm Godfrey Burnside. Back to you, Romy.
Thanks, Godfrey. Today we celebrate Majority Rule Day, and of course, we're speaking with a very special guest on this particular subject, none other than Monsignor Preston Moss, and we're talking Majority Rule. Monsignor, welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise. Always a pleasure. Let's talk a little bit about Majority Rule Day. Tell us a little bit about how you feel about it, your personal thoughts on, well, I guess you would support the concept of Majority Rule, but the day to celebrate it.
Yes, it's a very important day. I remember it very well. I was a year and a half a priest when it happened, and the night that it happened. And for me, it represents the beginning of a new responsibility for us as a people of where we're going. It was a new moment. And one of the major responsibilities we have is how we are going to form ourselves as a people. For me, after these 49 years, everything involves growing, huh? But it's time for the healing of the wounds in our nation. Time for healing. And the responsibility begins in the family.
Yeah.
And what I would like to really mention that is important on this celebration.
Yeah.
Healing is necessary because many of the things, the social problems that we're having are many-pronged.
Yeah.
But there's also some very fundamental things we need to look at. Sometimes we look at the symptoms
Yeah.
and not look at the causes.
Let's talk about those fundamental things we need to look at.
Well, the formation of our people, beginning in the family with the healing, the knowing of right and wrong, of respect of one another, and respect of our institutions. But the formation, I really would like to talk for a couple of minutes about the healing.
Okay.
There is woundedness. When you go to a doctor and you're bleeding,
Right.
he tries to stop the bleeding. That's the symptom.
Yes, sir.
But he or she looks quickly for the cause of the bleeding. And one of the deep causes of the bleeding in our land, of the woundedness, is our relationships.
Okay.
And it is important now, because of the father wound, because of the increasing mother wound, we need to heal. And to heal, that means we have to forgive. There is need, I believe, there's need to forgive those who have hurt us. There's need for us to ask forgiveness. There is need to give forgiveness.
Okay.
Our Lord taught us to pray daily, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Only when we forgive can we move on. And that involves an act of faith, an act of love towards the person. Because in forgiving, we are healed and we help to heal. The rage, the violence, those are symptoms of the need for healing. And so those fathers and mothers who have not been there for their children, to be able to humbly say, I am sorry. I hope we have some day of having some time to heal. It's a process, of course, but to be able to begin to go and say, I'm sorry I wasn't there for you,
Yeah.
or I'm sorry I abused you, or I'm sorry I hurt you, and then for the other to say, I forgive you. And when God came into the world, that's what he began. When we killed him, that's what he said. Father, forgive them. And forgiveness heals. And without healing, the bleeding will continue.
Monsignor, I've never looked at it that way, but the vision that you are laying out is sort of like majority rule becomes a day of healing, of coming together.
Yes. And you have to look at those wounds and to be able to honestly say, I am sorry. To not only ask forgiveness and give forgiveness, but to forgive ourselves. We are imperfect, we all make mistakes. But if we can own up, because that's, in other words, take responsibility for our
Sure.
actions. Take responsibility. That's what began in a new way, a majority rule day. that we said we're going to take responsibility for our lives. And you begin at the foundation, because in the family, everything in the nation, in every nation, passes by way of the family, says St. John Paul II, who was the only pope who visited our land. But our Lord himself told us, you have to begin with forgiving. And we have to have a fundamental conviction about that, that it isn't all right, to say, well, that's their mistake, they're mine, but to forgive. I don't know how many minutes you're going to give me, but I would like to
go ahead
to pray a prayer.
Sure. Our voice is your voice.
I want to pray a prayer for us that I wrote some years ago. Okay. God of our family, we praise and adore you, our Creator. Thank you for creating us in your image, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, the divine family. We thank you for the grace of belonging to you and to each other. We are grateful for the many blessings that have come to us as family. Forgive us for the sins we have committed against each other: neglect, abuse, abandonment, impatience, rage. Help us to forgive those family members, including ourselves, who have caused us pain and suffering. Lord, heal the deep scars within us. We have all been deeply wounded by our history. Recreate our families, O Father, in our Bahamian family of islands. Show us how to accept and appreciate ourselves and each other. Recreate us, Lord, again like you, that we may recommit ourselves to build a better Bahama land of families and our world according to the wisdom of your kingdom. This prayer we ask through Christ our Lord. Amen.
When was that written?
I wrote this maybe 20 years ago, maybe. Because, the healing, no matter what you're doing, if you're hurting, you got to deal with the healing. And this country is like a sick hospital right now.
How do we inspire people to make the first move? Because the healing is really, you have to go and confront some of the things that you may have done that you regret, that you tried to put in the back of your mind, that have caused the trauma. How do we inspire people to confront that and see the wisdom of confronting that?
Well, first of all, those of us who are aware, have a responsibility to therefore do something about it. See? And if we cannot accept it, then to ask for the grace, to pray for the grace, to want to be healed, to know and want to be healed, and to be wounded healers, to be able to want to extend that. See? When we see someone bleeding, if you see yourself bleeding, you can't say, well, I'm not bleeding. But once you become aware, then you have a responsibility to do something about it. And there is always a means. Because of Jesus Christ, not only coming, but being with us, we can heal. We can heal. And even the worst things in our lives that happen to us, we can forgive.
Indeed.
We can forgive. And we can also be given the power to forgive ourselves. I tell you this from being 50 years as a priest, that I have seen this in people's lives, I've experienced it in my own life, that you can forgive, and because once you experience you're being forgiven, and that you're being merciful. See, in our Catholic Church this year, the Holy Fathers ask us to have a year of, Jubilee year of the merciful love of God, to be merciful like our Father. You see, and Jesus taught us that we must continually ask forgiveness, give forgiveness. We have to come to that as a conviction as a country that, yes, there are many areas we have to look at in healing the wounds, but we have to look at not only the symptoms, but causes. And the causes is what has happened to us individually and as a people. And once we begin to heal wounds and be healed from within, then we can begin to see a new way. You know, when you've been healed of something, you have new life.
Indeed.
New energy, you know. And so God wants us to be healed. We have been graced as a people. We are a beautiful land, a beautiful people.
Sure.
But we're hurting, and it has to begin with healing.
All right, Monsignor, thank you so much for
It has
sharing
been
that
a
and being on Bahamas at Sunrise.
Thank you.
We agree with you here
Yeah.
at Bahamas at Sunrise. We need healing.
And it has, I hope we have the humility for the grace to seek it and to give it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be back on this Majority Rule Day after this.
Good afternoon. First response. How can I help you?
I've been in an accident on West Bay Street. Can you send someone to help?
Yes, ma'am. A first response team will be there in 15 minutes. Are you hurt?
No, I'm fine, but a bit upset.
We're glad you're not hurt. Please, try to relax. Our team will take care of everything as soon as they arrive.
First Response provides immediate on-site service and support from the scene of an accident through the claims and repair process. And it's free to all Bahamas First insured drivers in New Providence, every day for any type of accident. If you drive and want First Response on your side, call 321-FIRST or visit bahamasfirst.com for the name of an authorized Bahamas First agent. First Response can't prevent an accident from happening,
But it can certainly ease your mind when it happens.
Since 1967, Focal has been a vital part of the Grand Bahama community, providing high-quality products and great customer service. Today, we continue to work hard and remain focused on fueling growth for people throughout the Bahamas.
Are you behind on your real property tax? The Department of Inland Revenue is offering shelter. From now until December 2015, the DIR is extending a waiver of the property tax surcharge to registered owners of residential properties in one of two ways. One, set up a standing order or salary deduction arrangement to pay your property tax arrears and the current tax. Or two, pay your outstanding tax bill in full. To learn more, call the Department of Inland Revenue at 242-225-7280 or email us at taxinquiries@bahamas.gov.bs.
Welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise. Well, today is Majority Rule Day, and yet the majority of Bahamians do not have health insurance. Speaking with us this morning are three people, the best three people we can speak with about this initiative, and we are happy to welcome to our show the Deputy Director for National Health Insurance, coming to us from NIB, but who is also on the Secretariat. We'll be asking him the tough questions. We've got Dr. Kevin Bowe. Welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Thank you.
Miss Elizabeth Gardner-Kijou has been dealing with the government as a consultant. She has worked previously when National Health Insurance was coming up back then in 2002. And so this is the woman that knows quite a bit about this, and she'll be sharing with us as well. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
And we have the newly initiated permanent secretary for National Health Insurance, but he is no stranger to the civil service and how policy should run. We are happy to welcome Peter Isaacs DeVoe. DeVoe Isaacs.
Thank you very much.
So now let's talk about National Health Insurance. I want to begin with you. you would have seen so many policies over the years. Why is national health insurance, first of all, important? And most of all, why is it important right now?
This is a dream for a civil servant. To be at the center of one of the, probably the most fundamental shift and paradigm change in Bahamian social and political history. We're celebrating Majority Rule Day today, and this is one of those milestones in Bahamian history and historical development. National health insurance is designed to bring an improved level of health service to people who have been denied it for one reason or the other. Lack of insurance, people just who don't have the money to access the health care they need. And it is compelling because of the statistics that we're showing. The Bahamas ranks among the highest in diabetes prevalence in the world. Not in the Caribbean, in the world. We have a very high incidence, for example, of breast cancer, as you alluded to in our pre-show. And in addition to that, we're among the top 5 countries in regards to obesity. This has caused a tremendous drain on public resources and on our health productivity. The Bahamians are among the most unhealthy group of people in the world. The tragedy of this is that if you sit by and allow this trend to continue, we're actually killing ourselves.
So that is one of the major reasons why the time is now.
Absolutely.
So,
in fact, the time should have been before.
Okay. So we talk about that, and we look then, and we must say that the benefits of this program must address the very issues that Mr. DeVoe Isaacs just spoke of. So, Mrs. Kinju, what are the benefits then to the Bahamian people for national health insurance?
That's an excellent question. The National Health Insurance Scheme, I'm sure, as you would have been told by a previous speaker, is an insurance system that provides a modern and affordable and access to quality health care. And it's provided with equity. That means irrespective of your income, your social status, if you need the health care, it would be there for you, and it's quality health care. It is excellent because, one, there is no age limit. You know, in many insurances, you have the insurance when you're young and healthy, but when you're older, say you're 70, 75, and you really need it, you don't have it. There is no age limit to national health insurance. In terms of the ceiling, sometimes insurance has caps as to how much they would contribute. Well, how much they would, what the benefit is. It might be $500,000, it might be $1 million, it might be $2 million. But for national health insurance, there is no cap. And so it means that if you need the health care, and as long as it is deemed that it is something that can be dealt with, you will be able to get the cure. The other thing with national health insurance is that, well, I told you there's no age limit, and that is critical for all of us in the Bahamas as senior adults.
I agree.
Yes.
I agree. I do know, of course, many people that don't have insurance, and so I can appreciate what you're saying. But I think for so many people, there are just these questions as to how this actually works. It sounds great in theory, but how does it actually work? And so I want to come to you now, Dr. Bowe. You are an expert in these technical areas. What does it mean for someone who has an insurance policy already? Should they cancel that policy and just go with national health insurance? How does that work?
Well, and thank you for that question. But let's understand what NHI really is. This is a financing mechanism that seeks to help us introduce universal health care coverage. And clearly, NHI is only going to offer so many benefits. All right? It will be introduced in phases. It's going to begin with primary health care around April.
I'm going to stop you right there. What is primary health care? Because I've heard it, but what does that mean?
Primary health care refers to that first line of contact an individual has with a health care provider, or continuing care. It also includes things like health promotion, disease prevention, that sort of scope.
Okay. And so I'm going to register. I go down to NIB, I think is the place that we all must go. I'm going to register for National Health Insurance. When do I start receiving the benefit of National Health Insurance? And back to that original question, should I cancel my plan?
Well, as we said, the initial phase of NHI is going to be in April with that primary care that we just defined. But let's say someone wants services beyond that. Since we're not at the full rollout of the package yet, then this is where the private health insurance is a benefit to that individual to get those additional services over and beyond those things that we've offered under NHI.
Okay. Now, we talk about me coming into NIB to register, and you also mentioned their private health care. How have we partnered with the private insurance companies? Will they be included at all in any of the administration of National Health Insurance?
It is expected, and we are having discussions with the private health insurers now. We recognize they are a very important partner in this. It cannot be done without well coordination and continued efforts to negotiate and discuss and plan with the private health insurance market. And so for us, it is expected, should they decide to partner with us, that they have the opportunity to carry the plan that's offered by NHI. So in that package of benefits, there will be a public insurer, but should the private insurers decide to participate, then we'll also have the private health insurers carrying that plan. And they would then be known as regulated health administrators.
Regulated, okay. So we have so much more questions. We're going to have you all back on Bahamas at Sunrise. The time frame did not allow us to get really into the meat of the matter. But where can people find out more information? If they want to reach you or they want to look something up, how can they find out a bit more than we were able to ask this morning?
Well, there's an NHI secretariat established now at the Teachers and Salaried Workers Credit Union Complex on East Street South. We're there. We're available to meet with folks. We know that we're going to engage our stakeholders as we have indicated. We have people who come and walk in all the time wanting more information. We're there to do that at every level.
Okay. So you've heard it here. They have established a secretariat at the Teachers and
Salaried Workers Credit Union Complex on East Street South and Independence Highway, right at the roundabout.
Okay.
Tell them the green building.
The green building. You know, that's how we do directions. Well, thank you all for joining us this morning. I really look forward to having you back again. So I'm going to have to make sure that Ms. Aubrey's paying attention and she brings you all back so we can have more of a conversation. But congratulations on the work thus far, and we look forward to hearing more.
Thank you very much.
You're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back.
Renewing pride in our people, improving healthy conditions, lending social assistance to families trying to make a change.
The government is implementing CCT, the Conditional Cash Transfer Program, which is proving successful in our region. CCT is a new exciting form of social assistance to help Bahamians break free of the poverty cycle with dignity. CCT provides a cash benefit and many more with an emphasis on improving the health and education of our families. CCT has the advantage of transparency, improved targeting, automation, better monitoring, better processing, improved service, improving client dignity. Call the Social Safety Net hotline at 397-8628. The Department of Social Services. Together we rise.
Inspiring you, sustaining you, empowering you to rise.
Welcome back. At the end of November, we told you all about the Attorney General's commitment to making business easier, particularly the registration of companies. Travis Edgecombe tells us more in this report.
The Registrar General's Department recently introduced their e-online services where agents will be able to incorporate companies within a time of 24 hours. Prime Minister Perry Christie.
This launch of the e-services facility of the Registrar General's Department marks a very important step in my government's plan to build a safe, modern and prosperous Bahamas, really a stronger Bahamas. It presents sterling evidence of my government's commitment to encouraging high-quality domestic and foreign investment by putting in place the necessary components to foster and encourage the ease of doing business in the Bahamas, which I firmly believe is the greatest little country in the world.
He also said that the ICT is necessary and indispensable for a modern and stronger Bahamas.
Recognizing the Bahamas' commitment to ICT, last month the International Telecommunications Union committed to making the Bahamas the world's first smart island. We expect the entire Bahamas to join the world's smart cities such as Amsterdam. For me, why it is so much a pleasure, and I want Bahamians all over the Bahamas, especially young Bahamians, to recognize that this initiative enables people all over the Bahamas to have the very same opportunities to conduct business online.
Attorney General Alison Maynard Gibson explained the importance of the public-private sector partnership of e-services.
This initiative, Prime Minister, is a wonderful example of what you have always been promoting, and that is public-private sector partnership. In fact, I would call it a magnificent example of private-public sector partnership. Everybody who was involved in this actually didn't believe we would get to the day, but we all stretched ourselves to make sure that it could happen.
She also said the registry is working on having a paperless registry in the near future and sung the praises of the Prime Minister's initiative of creating a better Bahamas.
We are pursuing other projects, including online registration of deeds and documents and other online services as well. Ladies and gentlemen, none of this would be possible without a visionary leader who works day and night for a stronger Bahamas. Our Prime Minister encourages and supports public-private sector partnerships. He understands the importance of 21st century financial services. He reestablished the Ministry of Financial Services, created it and reestablished it. He's determined that we do everything that we can to enable and unleash the full creative and business potential of young Bahamians. He supports efforts to ensure that Bahamians and all within our borders can easily do business in the Bahamas with each other, with the government, and that government using technology talks to each other. We want to raise e-government across the board to 21st century standards.
CEO of Bahamas Financial Services Board, Tanya McCartney, said that the new e-services was a red-letter day for the business in the nation.
BFSB realizes the importance of business efficiency for our members who are financial and corporate service providers. A company is a basic building block in the Bahamas' financial services toolkit. As we promote the Bahamas as a jurisdiction of choice, it is important for the client experience to match the expectation that we set when marketing. Ease of doing business is critical to this. The ability to incorporate within 24 hours will improve our competitive advantage. Hence, we welcome this initiative. BFSB members were involved in a soft launch, which allowed the Registrar General's Department and the Department of Information Technology to get real-time feedback on the e-services system. All government agencies involved have been responsive and efficient, committed to ensuring that this new process adds value for users.
Persons on the Family Islands will no longer have to travel to New Providence to incorporate their business. Registrar General Deidre Clark-Maycock.
Part of our history is that in the past, because that's not happening anymore, when a person wanted to incorporate a company, more so a regular company, we have various types of company, but today we have launched the incorporation online of international business companies and regular companies. So international companies, they will have to be coordinated or carried out by agents. The law requires that the only persons who can incorporate international companies are agents. Regular companies, an agent can do that, but I or yourself can do that as well. So a person who's in the Family Island, like a young person, you know, we're pushing youth entrepreneurs, they can just go online access our website, well, first of all, they'll have to access the government's e-portal. And once they've registered onto the government e-portal, then they can access the Registrar General's Department website to incorporate, to get onto our incorporation portal. And once they've gotten onto that, then they can go through the process, pay at the end of the day with their credit cards, and voila, they can apply for the expedited services, or they can apply for the regular service and get it within 48 hours.
This is Travis Edgecombe for Bahamas at Sunrise.
Need a business license? Simply apply and pay online with the user-friendly online tax administration system, OTAS. VAT registrations, payments, information, forms, confirmation of applications or payments, all online. Even the business license will be emailed directly to successful applicants. So why waste time? With OTAS, our doors are always open. Access OTAS, the online tax administration system, at vat.revenue.gov.bs or email us at taxinquiries@bahamas.gov.bs or call 242-225-7280.
When you think of Andros, think of nature at its best.
When you think of Andros, think of colorful places.
When you think of Andros, think of beautiful people taking care of each other and our guests.
Think Andros.
Think bone fishing. Think Andros. Think diving.
Think Andros. Think people to people.
And now, your hosts, Romuald Ferreira and Anastasia Palacios.
Welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise. We're at the halfway point. It's been an excellent show on this Majority Rule Day.
It certainly has, hearing Monsignor Moss pray for the nation and just talk about the fact that we need to heal. I think those are some very important points to be made.
Certainly something to consider as we begin the year in 2016. And so he also said something that we've been saying on Bahamas at Sunrise a long time, that you need this awareness.
Right.
And so here's what we want you to do. We want you to think about all those persons who have done you wrong, who've hurt you in some way. Think about them and don't be ashamed, because they're probably thinking about you right now. And reach out to them today. And let's begin this healing process on Majority Rule Day.
Yeah, Rumi, I don't think you could say it any better than that.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I really don't think you could, and I think that ties in perfectly with what we're going to be seeing in our second half of the show.
It certainly does, because we know around this time of year we see people into depression. There are things going on in people's lives out there, folks. People are hurting, and of course we read about suicides, unfortunately, in the news, but there's hope on the horizon, so to speak. We have Darren Turnquest in studio, and he's going to talk to you a little bit about goal setting, particularly mental health goals, how to cope, really, coping skills to make you more aware.
Yeah, so that's going to be an awesome segment. So we do want you to stay tuned to that. We'll also be bringing a bit back into the conversation as we talk about the fantastic Boxing Day and New Year's Day parades. Darren himself might have been a bit disappointed and depressed after that loss to the Valley Boys, but at the end of the day, the parades were flawlessly executed, a wonderful celebration of Bahamian culture. And so Jeff Lloyd and Silbert Ferguson from the Bahamas Junk Canoe Corporation will join us to talk about that. So you want to stay tuned to that as well.
Yeah, you better stay tuned. Hey, but that's only one parade. There's many more to go. Well, two.
Yeah, that was two.
One season.
One season.
We got our eye on you. We're going to get eye on you. But all of that, much more coming up in the second half of Bahamas at Sunrise. But before we get to any of that, we're going to give you the coolest man in town. That's Mr. Godfrey Burnside with weather.
Weather at Sunrise, brought to you by Bahamas First. First in insurance, today, tomorrow.
Thank you, Romy, and good morning, Bahamas. In your second look at weather, Sunrise. And I did tell Jay I was going to forgive him for all the things that he's done to me in the past year. So you're forgiven, DJ. In your satellite loop, you can actually see some cloudiness over the northwest and central Bahamas, and that triggering off some cloudy periods. We had a whole lot of rain last night as that prefrontal boundary went through. Now the front is now over the Berry Islands, South Abaco, North Andros, moving across New Providence sometime later this morning. So expect more showers of that. That system should stall next on Keys sometime later today. In your marine forecast, those winds today northwest and north at 10 to 15 knots, seas 2 to 4 feet in northwest Bahamas, variable at 10 knots or less, seas less than 3 feet over the central and southeastern islands. On Tuesday, those winds become northerly at 10 to 15 knots, seas 2 to 4 feet over the northwest Bahamas, continuing variable at 10 knots or less, seas less than 3 feet over the central and southeastern islands. And then on Wednesday, across all the islands, variable at 10 knots or less, seas less than 3 feet. Your tides. You can expect a high tide at 8:27 this morning. Your next low tide will be at 2:54 this afternoon. High again this evening at 8:48. Sunset will be at 5:39 this evening. Rises tomorrow at 6:57. UV index 6. Your water temperature 76 degrees Fahrenheit. And the moon phase, new moon. And the extended look, some cloudiness into Wednesday morning with some partial clearing. But then again, by the weekend, we expect more showers and nightly thunderstorms. This frontal boundary will be storming across us, particularly over the Central East Bahamas, and will be oscillating north and south over the next several days. Temperature daytime will be in the mid to upper 70s daytime and the lower 60s at nighttime. Could even pop some 50s over the extreme northwest Bahamas over the next 24 to 36 hours. That puts a wrap on your final look at weather sunrise. I'm Godfrey Burnside. Back to you, Star.
Thanks, Godfrey. I know I'm going to have a fantastic year because I'm sitting with my good friend Darren Turnquest, and he's talking to us about how people see the new year. There are some people that embrace this part of the year with joy and hope and enthusiasm about what is possible, but many people who face the year with anxiety and sadness and feeling a lot of loss. Well, Darren is going to break it down for us. He has on his psychologist hat today. We welcome you to Bahamas at Sunrise.
And it's good to be here early, but it's good to be here nonetheless.
So I want to start out by finding out from you, why does the new year fill so many people with that sense of anxiety and sadness?
Well, for a lot of people, there are a lot of goals that they would not have accomplished last year.
Okay.
A lot of things that they might have really been interested in getting through. Individuals sometimes during the Christmas season, during the New Year season, do a lot of reflection about how life has changed. And sometimes life has changed for them, not for the better, but sometimes for the worse. And interesting enough, it comes to a point, why have I not made some changes in my life? Why have I not made some decisions in my life? What are some of the obstacles that are really holding me back from making some of those decisions? And that could really be a new job, it could be a separation, it could be divorce, it could be dealing with some major issues with parents and children. And when you come to the point in your life where you recognize that you've not done all you can as quickly as you would like to do those things, it becomes a bit difficult. I often tell my clients that, you know, your expected time of arrival for a particular goal might change, but always remember not to lose focus of that destination. Nothing in life is instant, and anything that is in a microwave sometimes isn't that good for you. And so I often say to people, what we forget to do at the beginning of the year is we forget to have a trusted friend or a counselor or a psychologist to really hold us accountable to some of the goals that we're doing. You know, you go into the next 12 months and you're like, I'm going to do A, B, C, D, F, G. And, you know, first of all, make your goals smart. You know, specific, measurable, attainable, reasonable, and time-oriented. And once you make those smart and you have somebody, a partner, a friend, or a counselor, a professional psychologist, not one of these bogus people out here that call themselves A, B, C, D, and F. If they don't have that, if they're not the degreed person to carry you through this process, then you have to ask yourself some questions. But somebody you can trust, somebody who's not afraid to hold you accountable, and somebody who's going to push you towards progress. Now, however, I often tell people, in order to get progress, you have to go through a process. You can't remove the process or else you won't get the progress. And so we look at, you know, losing weight, for example. I always tell people, if you don't go through the process of that throughout the year, then you're not going to see the progress when it's time to have a summer body. You know, I've been working out now for a little while. I'm sure you can tell. No, I haven't.
So Darren, I think you made some very good points, right? You talk about this need to be accountable. And you talk about the fact that one of the people that is very good for that is seeing a psychologist or a counselor. But Darren, we know that many Bahamians don't feel the need for that. They have this feeling of shyness or not animosity, but they just don't want to be seen as having an issue that they need to see a psychologist for. But we also know that there are people struggling with depression. I myself have lost 2 friends to suicide, both young males, both who could have set these goals and achieved so much. How do we deal with people that have real mental health issues? And what do we, as the people surrounding them, what are like some of the signs we can see or ways we can encourage them to go and see someone?
We always know that as human beings we have a baseline. You know the normal behavior of an individual, and you also know when that behavior has changed. Sometimes I say that we as Bahamians, we like to talk to each other, and so we provide an enabling environment for individuals to talk to us. But we recognize when they're talking and their discussion is at a point where it's above our professional ability. Well, not me as a psychologist. Well, sometimes it might be, depending on what the issue is, but as a friend. And that's when you have to really have, you know, the fortitude to look that person in the face and say, you need help. You need somebody who can be able to give you some support more than I can. And if you want me to go with you, that's not a problem. So we can't be afraid to tell people, you know, there might be a stigma in A, B, and C. However, this is what you need considering some of the challenges and issues that you're going through. When I went to a funeral just this weekend, I looked into the graveyard of Woodlawn, and I saw the amount of people that were being buried. And I looked at the faces of some of those families, and my first question is, who are they talking to? This is, you know, loss is a serious thing. Grief is a serious thing, especially around this particular time. Who are these people going to? You know, sometimes it's good to escalate your level of care. Look to a professional psychologist for that support. Look to them to keep you accountable. Look for a life mentor that's going to take you through this process. And come December 31st, you'll find yourself in a different place, in a better place, having gone through a positive process to reach a level of progress that you are happy with. The other thing in life is, this year, don't make anybody else happy before you make yourself happy. And sometimes we entertain the ideas of everybody else around us, our loved ones, our parents, our friends. No, no, no. Happiness begins with you. I said to a number of people, sometimes people jump into marriages, they jump into new relationships, and they do all of this in New Year's because they want to make someone happy. Well, I say to my clients, a mess and another mess comes together to create a hot mess. Sometimes you have to deal with the mess that you have going on in you first before you entertain anybody else in your life. That way, when you reach there, you're at neutral ground. You're starting off with a sensible process towards a life of fruitful progress.
Darren, I always appreciate talking to you. Like, you just said so many good things in perspective, and I really like that notion that there is no progress without the process.
Correct.
That you have to deal with the mess yourself. And we spoke about it earlier because it's Majority Rule Day, and Father Preston Ross was talking to us about hope and these things, but you really have to heal on the inside. So thank you for joining us.
You're very welcome, and the important part is you don't have to go through it alone.
Right, and I think I really want that message to resonate. There is nothing wrong with seeing psychologists, a counselor. Darren is one. And
I see one as well.
He says he sees one as well. I can believe it. But it certainly is good to help you to just be accountable and to get through the challenges that we all face.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us, and all the best this year.
And same to you.
You're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back.
Thanks, thank you, thanks a lot, Anastasia. These wonderful gentlemen from Junkanoo distracted me, but we're here this morning to do a post-mortem on the Junkanoo parades, the recent Junkanoo parades. We welcome two gentlemen in studio. They obviously no stranger to us, none other than Silbert Ferguson, Jeffrey Lloyd. They're from the Junkanoo Corporation. They're part and parcel, kit and caboodle, in it together. Gentlemen, welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise. First of all, congratulations on the parade. I know you've done some sort of analysis as to what happened. So let's hear the analysis from the Junkanoo Corporation in terms of the smoothness, the operation of the parade.
Well, I think one of the easiest things for us to say is that it was successful because it was a team effort. Okay. Our team was responsible for putting together the basic blueprint to make this parade successful, and on the back end of it, we got a good team manager who came in for the parades and just executed the entire plan.
Let's talk a little bit about the plan. What were some of the components of the plan? What did the plan feature?
Well, we had an 8 weeks conclave that included all of the Junkanoos and our fan base, who all came in and had brief discussions with us. One of the things that we approach first of all is the time of the parades. I think our customers were concerned about that. So hence we had a 10 o'clock start. That was really the big feather in our cap. And then secondly, the organization of what we call the holding areas or the staging areas for groups on Bay Street. We exercise and utilize the use of Frederick Street North and South, and Bay Street west of Frederick. And what that meant for our parades management team is to have the ability to basically have 3 groups on standby at all times. And that basically was the part of the equation that was solved this year in how we get to shut down our gaps.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff. Now, ticket sales were sluggish. Any explanation on that?
Well, we had a great Boxing Day. We had a 99% turnout for Boxing Day, and we had a 62% turnout for New Year's Day, which was a little better than last year. Okay, and so the product, as we all see it now, is getting better. And we want to make sure that all of our partners who are involved, our sponsors, BTC, Click, and Coca-Cola, share in that. And so we're very, very proud that our customers came out and supported us over the last 2 parades.
All right, excellent stuff. Brother Lloyd, the last time you were here, you said in your very stentorian voice that things will go smoothly.
Well, it did.
What's your assessment?
It went smoothly.
How so?
I mean, well, we eliminated the gaps. And I will not discuss.
How was that achieved?
Well, I'm not going to discuss those strategies. I just simply say that we eliminated the gaps. But I'll tell you this. First of all, of course, we're going to start on time. In fact, on Boxing Day, Christmas night, which is Boxing Day, we started 10 minutes earlier. Then also on New Year's, we started 5 minutes early. So we're going to start on time. As long as, you know, we've gotten the mandate, we're going to start on time. It's going to happen that way. Secondly, we eliminated the gaps because I want to give kudos to the Jonkanouers themselves, the leadership. They recognize the complaints. They understand what we were up against. The people were concerned. The people were angry, as a matter of fact. That's why ticket sales have been sluggish, at least in one part. And they realize that if you're not going to put a great show on, I mean, the patrons are not going to come. So let me say that they bought into the vision. Hey, guys, we're going to have to eliminate the gaps. Trust us. We know what we're doing. I've got a background in theater and presentation and production. Let's get it done this way. So when we say let's go, let's go.
When the whip crack, the horse better run. So we saw live entertainment, though. Was that a part of the strategy?
Well, part of the strategy in the sense that, you know, in times past, you know, you do have these little gaps, and while people are sitting there waiting, you could have them entertained so that you could provide some means of, you know, distraction, quote unquote. At the same time, we provided this year, the ministry provided this large screen so that those in Rawson Square and the immediate surrounding areas could also see what was happening down in the hole. I also understand that there were microphones so that some of the music that was coming out of the hole could be heard by the patrons in the Rawson Square area and beyond. So it's a means of putting on a show. And if you're going to put on a show, you've got to keep your audience entertained. And there can't be any gaps in that entertainment. I mean, you think you go to a Broadway show in New York, I mean, you're not sitting there 4 or 5 minutes wondering what's happening, how long you're going to take to change this scene. That's just not going to happen. It's got to be a seamless, continuous representation, presentation of the activity, telling that story so that that audience is engrossed in that moment.
Still, but I sense a certain professionalization of this whole process. It's sort of, where do we go from here, having achieved the success in the last 2 parades?
Well, you know, one of the things that is so important to us is that our product was tainted. And so we have corrected the taint in the product. Now we have a product that we have taken to market on time, and we have a product that is really, really marketable. Our entire business strategy now has to change. The business model of Junkanoo will change now immensely. And so as we begin to now market this product.
But you're saying something that may be a little bit of an oxymoron, because we talked about this last year, the whole business aspect of Junkanoo. So when you say the business aspect, I mean, what is this business aspect now? And what do you want to change it
Well,
to?
see, what has happened in the past is that Junkanoo was never about money. Junkanoo was always about the spirit of the Bahamian people. Okay, we are celebrating our ancestors who had that horrific ride across the Atlantic. And as a passive resistance to slavery, this Junkanoo was created and is held here in the Bahamas. Now today, you know, with all of the challenges around us, we now have to move to be more financially productive in this art form and in this celebration that is going to eventually now become a festival. And so the business model of Junkanoo now will take its baby steps as we begin to transform the financial platform.
The business model.
Well, you got to understand, I mean, you know, it takes money to produce this. It takes money to present this and to provide this. I mean, you're talking about sponsors, Coca-Cola, Calic, and BTC, that invest significant sums of money. You're talking about participants who invest significant sums of money. The government of the Bahamas, very significant sums of money. Patrons who come, $48.38 for a Rawson Square seat, $37.30 for a Scotiabank First Caribbean seat. I mean, that's no small piece of change. You got a family of 4 and you're into the hundreds of dollars. So Junkanoo has got to have an economic focus, a thrust. And this is why, on my end, it is so important for you to put on a show that is inspiring, interesting, exciting, entertaining, and one that people will want to come to and want to come to next year.
But there are two things that I find quite intriguing. There's the expenditure of public and private funds for the festival.
Right.
There's revenue being created.
Yep.
How does that revenue size up to the distribution needs, though? Obviously, for the most part, the people participating aren't paid. You know, what's happening? Like, how are these flows being adjusted?
Let me tell you that last year, in a brief study done by the JCNP, we found that Junkanoo, basically on the whole, costs the Junkanoos about $4 million.
Wow.
The intake for Junkanoo in our receipts is approximately $450,000. Our prize package is $375,000. Okay? And so our patrons who come to support us, we have enough funding in our budget to basically pay our prize packages. Okay?
So we're looking at growing this as a part of the overall creative economy.
It's very important that all of us understand the structure that is going to be placed. Now, of course, the JCNP has also engaged in a new Junkanoo think tank, okay, that will unveil all of its plans for Junkanoo in very, very short order, sometime this month, next month. And so everybody will get the opportunity to see the paper on Junkanoo heading forward.
It's got to be economically viable. In my time, Junkanoo was it. These days, folks got options. If you're not going to make it attractive, if you're not going to put a product that people are willing to invest in, they're not going to come. And therefore, it won't be viable economically.
All right, well, gentlemen, thank you so much for being on Bahamas at Sunrise. One thing you forgot to mention, the reason why the parade was so successful last year is because you came on Bahamas at Sunrise. And only good things happen, of course,
only good things
when you come on Bahamas at Sunrise.
Well, we started and ended here, right?
Especially with room.
I will say no more. Happy New Year to you guys. Happy Majority Rule Day. You're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be back after this.
At Henry F. Store Electric Company, we supply all your electric needs for any size project, from residential housing to luxury hotels. We can help you achieve just the right look, from doorbells to chandeliers, table lamps to ceiling fans, wire, conduit, panels, dimmers, switches, plugs, and even tools. And don't forget light bulbs. We have those hard-to-find, energy-saving fluorescent bulbs and more. Henry F. Store Electric, number 135 Mackley Street. Over 50 years of reliability, service, and low prices. We also ship to the Family Islands.
Are you behind on your real property tax? The Department of Inland Revenue is offering shelter. From now until December 2015, the DIR is extending a waiver of the property tax surcharge to registered owners of residential properties in one of two ways. One, set up a standing order or salary deduction arrangement to pay your property tax arrears and the current tax. Or two, pay your outstanding tax bill in full. To learn more, call the Department of Inland Revenue at 242-225-7280 or email us at taxinquiries@bahamas.gov.bs.
The beauty of Bimini is seen all around. The beauty of Bimini turns people into friends.
And friends into family.
It's soothing. It's healing.
The beauty of Bimini keeps our guests coming back.
It's in the faces of our people. It's the people. The people.
The beauty of Bimini is people to people.
One thing, two things, blue thing, old things, things that are small, things that are grand, things that fit just right into the palm of your hand. Fox Hill Nursery, a large selection of garden supplies. If you can see it in your mind, you can find it at Fox Hill Nursery.
That's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning, and happy Majority Rule Day.
All right. Have a safe week. See you guys on Friday.